Hey everybody, welcome to Equity Guru. I'm Chris Parry, the guy who started the thing. Don't call me a guru though, because it's a long story. All right, so here's the deal. A couple of days ago, I got into a little Twitter war with a douchebag who's a stock promoter who loves drawing things on terrible charts that say to the moon and 100x and $100 price target and blah, blah, blah. If you're on Twitter and you follow me, you probably saw it. Don't want to get into it because the proper people are looking into that dude. But as part of the, I guess, fight, another one of our competitors, Agoracom, kind of got dragged in. And one of their client companies was dragged into it by the other parties. Long story short, I don't need to go into the blah, blah, blah. But I was talking to George at Agoracom and said, you know what? I kind of like this company that got dragged in. It's actually a really interesting deal. It's not one of our clients, and I don't know anyone anything. But the more I looked at it, the more I was like, George, if these guys feel like they got unfairly dragged into a shit fight, maybe I'll just take a look at this company and tell people what I think about it. Because, truth be told, it's good stuff. So I believe that the company knows nothing about it, and George was certainly like, if you want to do that, go for it. Like, good karma for you. So this is where I'm at right now. I'm all about data. Data is everything, right? Where obviously the world is shrinking technology-wise, and the ability to gather large amounts of data is better than it ever has been. For corporations, for government, for whatever you want, military, politics. Data is flying about us all over the place, and with 5G beginning to be a thing. See my video about East Tower for those who are interested in 5G. But with 5G being a thing and the ability to harness even more data and have it going backwards and forwards, artificial intelligence is going to be a really big deal. Okay, it already is, but people misuse the term. Anytime someone puts out an app, they claim that it's machine learning and AI. Shut up, you wrote a script, that's all. It's not machine learning. But there are big utilizations for machine learning and AI that require the expanded bandwidth that 5G will bring. So this is going to become a bigger and bigger deal. Now, you can gather all the data in the world. It's useless unless you can parse it, shrink it down into manageable gulps, and actually read it, right? You could have petabytes, terabytes, so even just gigabytes of data, and it could take you years to go through it all. So what's really necessary isn't the gathering of data, it's the interpretation of the data. It's utilizing the data on an ongoing basis to spit out something that's actually actionable directions for a business or institution. Okay, so assuming that I'm right on that, the next question becomes who's going to gather all that data? Now, we at Equity Guru for the last year plus have been talking about a company called Plurilock, which does this in the computer security fashion. Basically utilizing data coming from watching people's activities online, right? Their pattern of typing, the timing that they use between clicks, how many tabs they have open and what those tabs are doing. From a computer security standpoint, all that information is as valuable as a password or a fingerprint, but much, much harder to dummy up. So Plurilock has been in this business of helping companies establish security without having to go to the easily beaten and forgotten login password combo. It's a good company. They stopped telling their story about 3-4 months ago and the stock is dying a death. But that's neither here nor there. We like the company, we own stock in the company, and we're there for the long haul. The beautiful thing about that company is government contracts. They go government contracts all day, every day. And the moment you wire your tech into a government contract, not only do you get paid on time, but those contracts become really difficult to unseat you from, right? If you have to unplug a government process from your system, that's going to take some time. So once you got them, and getting them isn't easy, it can take years, you've got a lifelong client. So that's why we like Plurilock. But Plurilock is in this small area, or large area, but comparatively speaking, it's in a niche, which is computer security. Important niche, but it's a niche. Now let's switch over to Now Vertical Group. First time I saw these guys was today. So, hey, I'm going from a 30,000 foot view, and maybe there's some stuff underneath that people can clue me in on, that makes it less of an interesting deal to me. But at first glance and looking through the presentation and a couple of news releases and the financials, this is an interesting deal. And here's why. Now Vertical Group does business not just in one sector, but in multiple sectors. Basically, they go into a sector like, let's say, automotive industry, and say, all right, what's all the data that you've got from various different tools that you have on, let's say, warranties, let's say, usability, let's say, number of return cars, where the cars are selling well. All sorts of data that you can get on all sorts of different factors. But bring them all back together, you're interpreting one over here, one over there, and multiple departments don't have access to all of the data. So along comes Vertical now, now Vertical, and says, all right, well, we're going to acquire some of the software that you're using so that the data is all coming to us. And we're going to merge that data together so that it's better data for you. And we're going to hone it to suit your particular industry so that the things that you really need to do are things that you will be able to do in one suite. Now, that's interesting. The fact that they're also looking at government verticals, media, commerce, energy, finances, services, like all of these different areas, these guys are collecting the data software and merging it together. Now, this is real meta stuff, because now Vertical is vertically integrating the software that vertical integrators use that needs to be vertically integrated for them to better use it. Can you think of anything more meta than that? They're literally doing with their business what they're selling to other businesses. That's pretty great. So I'm interested in this thing. And you're dealing with a steady stream of acquisitions, some of which haven't been cheap. So, if you look at the profit and loss, you're not looking at a profit just yet. You've got listing expenses, you've got acquisition expenses. Company lost $30 million in its last quarter. You don't want that going on for a long time. But they also raised like $19 million last quarter. So, okay. So we've got a company that is acquiring software that allows them to then acquire clients. And these clients, let's say you're an automotive company and you just bought a plastics plant and you've got a glass manufacturing plant that you're using. You've got to vertically integrate those departments, which means the data in one and the data in another needs to talk. So the integration, the actual vertical integration part of the vertical integration strategy isn't something where you just say, bring in the guys from McKinsey and we'll pay $87 million for some consultants to sit here for 2 years and tell us what we should be doing. You're skipping that whole process. You're basically saying, all right, we've got building A, we've got building D, data A, B, and C is over here, data D, E, and F is over here. Let's get them to talk. Let's open it up to all the departments. Let's get better use of that data, do more with it, and have something spitting out the other end that's actionable. This is smart business, right? You're literally engaging in the business that you're selling to by vertically integrating the software to aid the vertical integration on the other side. Wow, chef's kiss. I like it. Okay, so what are we going to do about getting customers for this thing? Because, hey, everyone's got big plans to go and buy this and buy that and put it together, and then the customers will come, right? So, we've seen this before where groups go out and they raise money and they raise their share price by just acquiring shit, and it doesn't really have any rhyme or reason. Well, these guys have acquired 100 clients worldwide. 3 digits, not a big client base. Screw you. General Electric, Amazon Prime, Nike, Disney, Suncor, Universal, GM, government departments, Department of Defense, Department of State, Coast Guard, Special Operations Command, Army Research Office, Office of Naval Research. These guys are into government like the Plurilock people. They're into enterprise like the Plurilock people. But the way they're into it expands outwards into all manner of things. Now, at any point, if the pointy heads at Now Vertical decide there's another sector that they can do business in and that there's potentially some clients there, well, how do they do it? Well, they've already got all of these acquisitions of data, software, and tools that they've already made. So it's a relatively easy thing to say, well, if this thing works in automotive, what can we do to make it also work in forestry, right? Not everything's going to work that way, but once you've got the functional crossover between two tools, it's generally much easier to make it apply to another industry than it is to go out and buy more. So obviously these guys are buying it as they need to, but when they buy, they're buying clients. So a piece of software over here that's got 20 clients attached to it on the enterprise side, buy another piece of software over here that has 15 government departments, you pull them together, all your clients are benefiting from that new addition. You've done the work of stitching those groups together, of those tools together. Everyone benefits. Like, it's money up front, but in back, you've got just a growing, blooming expansion of potential things that you can sell every one of those enterprise clients. And like Plurilock, when you do so and get them to plug your systems into their systems, if the day ever comes that they decide they don't want to do that anymore, good luck unplugging. Once you're into these guys, you're into these guys. As long as you're delivering the product that they're asking for, you remain in, and these guys pay their bills. So every time they acquire a new piece of software, it then applies through that entire chain. Now, if your companies that you're doing business with are like AstraZeneca, Novartis, Fiat, Ralph Lauren, Monsanto, you know, not for nothing, but these are massive vertical integrators on a scale that, honestly, more often than not, could actually turn companies on its side. You get a company like Nestle that goes out and makes a big budget spend on some plant-based company that's all full of projections right now. Getting that product and that manufacturing group and their admin and all of their software to talk to the Nestle software, that is a major thing. It is a major expense with every acquisition. So what NowVertical is doing is greasing the rails on those acquisitions. And if they manage to do that even 10%, you're talking about millions of dollars, not just in savings, but in productivity savings and in crossing over savings, right? The old way of doing things was your lumber company's bought another lumber company. We call Arthur Anderson and they send around a room full of 20-year-old accountants to tell us who we fire and how we get the furniture from this place to this place and how which manufacturing facility we're going to shut down. That's the old way of doing things. The talking of software and databases together, limited part of that traditionally. Much bigger part right now, because what you're buying when you vertically integrate, more often than not, is knowledge. You're buying data. You're buying processes that aren't ratcheting bolts onto frames. It's about how does your one department that does sales talk to your department that's doing media buys? How do they talk to the manufacturing plant in another country on the other side of the world? How do you talk to your suppliers? Like, all of this stuff can be done manually, the old way, or you can have your system set up to, hey, manufacturing is running out of ingredient B. We place an automatic order to the vendor. The vendor's stuff shows up before we know we're actually out. The automation of this stuff is inexpensive when it comes to the massive increases potentially in productivity, in terms of deliverability, time to market, new product development. Man, like, you know, if you find out that the people in Idaho really like your blue ice cream but don't want your green ice cream, and the people in Boston, well, they're loving the green ice cream, hey, we might be able to figure out why that is. But it's good for a system to be set in place to say, so here's something we've noticed. I think that a deal like NowVertical, and I'm going to be right up front, they need to make much better financial, they're going to make a profit, but they need to bring things closer in, spend a lot less money next quarter, show some growth through those, both the mergers and acquisitions, but also just through doing things better, just getting rubber on the road. You've gone and bought all these things, show the world how good you are at the integration by integrating them and making money doing it. If NowVertical can do that in a demonstrable way in one quarter, here's the thing that's really interesting to me. On the fundamental side, the market cap on NOW right now is $28 million. Now, that's inexpensive considering what they've gone out there and actually spent is closer to $30 million on their acquisitions, and they've gone through the effort of coming to market. Okay, so Plurilock, which, as I mentioned, one niche, a good company, but it all comes into one place. $20 million market cap. NowVertical Group, multiple verticals, multiple acquisitions, as big on the client side, if not potentially bigger on the enterprise side, $27, $28 million. So only an extra $8 million market cap, but with much better upside. Now, don't get me wrong. I think Plurilock is great. $20 million. I think it's a damn steal. It'd be nice if they too had a quarter where they showed some definite growth on revenues, but it is what it is. They've gone into hibernation and they're not talking to anybody anymore. So, okay, money that I had in Plurilock that I have convictions for long term, maybe now I look at NowVertical and say there's potential there for this to upgrade real quick. Maybe before Plurilock, maybe in a way that Plurilock won't be able to do because they're focused in on that computer security and not on everything. In fact, maybe Plurilock is a good purchase for something like NowVertical. I don't know. But I will say that for a company that I only saw today for the first time and really looked at, I don't have any reason to worry about an investment in NowVertical other than big loss last quarter. Now, they justified it with, hey, we just went to market. There's a lot of costs involved with the listing. And there is. But, guys, show improvement in this quarter and your stock will jump, 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 jump. I think at this price, that the NowVertical group is a really interesting deal. I never tell anyone to invest in anything. That's your decision. It's not mine. I will say that when I saw today's share price, where it's gone under 76 cents, and just a few weeks ago it was at 96, and earlier in the year was at a $1.28, I think that getting this for almost half price what it was at the beginning of the year, but with all the acquisitions roped in, that's a gimme deal. I think that's a really good deal, and I'd do that all day long. For mine, this should be a $50, $60 million company based on what they have. They've just got to show some runs on the board. They've just got to show that they can be fiscally prudent. Not everything is about growth, 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 growth. But I think that the acquisitions already made demonstrate that there's something here, that these guys know what they're doing, and that if they're preaching vertical integration, showing that they can do it themselves is step number one. So for those that are interested in OW on the ticker symbol, not a client, I'm not under any compulsion to say nice things about these guys if they haven't earned them. But I looked, I liked, I love the sector, I love the business model, and if they can handle those upfront costs of setting everything in place and they can make the software talk to each other the way they say they can, and they can show that to a bigger audience of potential companies as clients, I think this is a real deal. So that's what I think. NOW, NowVertical Group, and we'll just leave it at that.